Gangsta Grills.
Gangsta Grills
Gangsta
live.
Grill.
We are live, baby.
Wait, what? Hold up. Bro, why is it doing this now?
Well, we live now, so no, it's
Hold
like
up.
off the hip.
We're, we're live, but I gotta reconnect to Facebook. It ain't saying nothing right until I try to go live.
Oh man.
So, sorry for anybody that's watching right now, but we had to reconnect back to Facebook
Yeah.
because we were not doing the Facebook. But that's my terrible accent, African accent. Have you seen Black Panther?
I have not seen Black Panther. I'm indifferent about Black Panther, but eventually I'm going to see Black Panther. Every time a movie like that, bro, everyone's always going to compare it to the first movie, and then you know how that goes, bro. So like, but I haven't
I think
seen.
they
I'm
did
gonna
a
see.
I think they did a good job of honoring him while
Yeah.
also creating new fans because
Hmm.
that same parallel and feeling that we had as black people to Wakanda, I feel like this to the Lost City, the Lost Underwater City, it kind of gives brown people that feeling of like if you have ties to Mayan heritage,
Hmm.
there's legit speaking the Mayan language. There's positive brown um, visuals that
Hmm.
you can see that you can hold on to. So it kind of gives them that self of identity and pride. And I think it's a dope movie just overall. But
Okay.
we were not watching Drew Boy Sports Show. We had some little technical difficulties, so I had to take your minds elsewhere to bring you right on back. But I'm your host, King Ralph, here with my boy, the homie Kai. How you feeling, bro?
Yo, I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. Glad to be back on live. You know what I'm saying?
We
And
live, baby.
we about to get it in.
And did you see that that dude, Nick Nack Patty Mac, he had a YouTuber fight over the weekend?
No, you gotta DM me that or shoot me the link on
Yeah,
Messenger,
he
bro.
lost. The dude that used to be like, "We live, baby." Yeah, he
Really,
lost. He was clutching too much. How he got disqualified?
bro?
Hey, but he lost a good amount of weight. I say he lost like 40 to 50 pounds
Mm.
to try to get ready for the fight. So I mean, he did what he tried. It was
I'm
about
still,
enough. I don't think people realize like holding up weighted gloves
yeah,
and then swinging at someone and then moving around and doing all of this is like how tiring that is,
bro. I'm still tripping over the Le'Veon Bell, Adrian Peterson,
bro. I did not
bro.
see AP get like that, bro. It was one of those things.
Yo,
Like, I just didn't see that coming.
Le'Veon was so serious about it too. He's like, "I told y'all." I was like, "All right, Le'Veon."
All right, go ahead,
I
bro. I'm gonna let.
I ain't
I'm
messing
gonna
with
let.
no Le'Veons in my life, man.
Not at all. Not at all. Anybody I know named Le'Veon, leave him alone.
Nah, man.
But we gonna send a little shout out to the sponsors before we get the show rolling. If you want to book a podcast photo shoot, music video, shout out to my peoples. Make sure you call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And before we get this joint rolling, we want to do a little 15 seconds of silence.
Quella Robinson.
A very tragic and sad situation that happened that well, I think it surfaced over the weekend.
Yeah.
Um, don't want to shed too much light on it, but she was murdered over the weekend, and we're gonna continue to get more and more information on the situation. But it's just a sad situation where you see someone go on vacation with people they look at as friends and very close people, for them to turn around and do such a heinous and evil act.
Yeah.
But we're gonna give it 15 seconds
All right.
starting now. All right. And we're gonna jump straight into our topics, man. We got some topics that were some segments that we're bringing back. Fast break, and if you haven't already, Reese's got a chocolate bar called a fast break, where it's pretty much a Reese's cup in candy bar form. But this fire is one of my favorites. So shout out to Reese's. No sponsorship there, but Dwight about a week ago, uh, had a dominant performance, putting up Wilt-like numbers. Had like 38, 25 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 blocks, went 2 for 10 from 3, which is not, it's really only 20%. But if you watched the way he was playing, it made you just look at it like, that don't even look like the Dwight Howard that I know. So, is it a bad look for the NBA to not have Dwight Howard in the league?
I believe it is. And the reason why I say that, Ralph, keeping it short and brief, is because it goes on this recurring theme that we have when we're talking about future Hall of Famers, or a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, even if he's not at his peak. It's the fact that those guys at their worst, on their worst day, or when they've declined, right? Maybe in athleticism, skill, whatever you want to call it, right? They should still be at least a bench piece on a team that needs them. Someone that can give you spot minutes here or there. We talked about previously about Hassan Whiteside was a backup to Rudy Gobert. And Dwight Howard was an integral piece to that Lakers championship bubble team in 2020, a team that never should have been broken up. Me and you both agreed on that. And so I look at a team like the Brooklyn Nets, who yet again, they lack interior defense. And that's an area of weakness. So, and there's a couple other teams that could use a defensive-minded presence in the league. We saw DeMarcus Cousins have his little run, but he's not a defender. He's more of an offensive piece. So I think that when you look at a guy like Dwight Howard, absolutely, he should definitely be on a team, either a contending team, a team that just needs, a defensive-minded presence, a veteran presence in the locker room for the young guys to look up to, even if you're not talking about just playing. And you look at what he said on Club Shay Shay and where his mindset is at. And so I think that obviously when you're in Taiwan, obviously we can talk about competition and all that kind of stuff, but he played just with an edge regardless, right? Like he was trying to prove something. So yeah, he should definitely be in the league. And I think that it's kind of honestly egregious that he's not. And we talked about that before, I think last week. So yeah, Dwight Howard, we're sending our thoughts out that you get back over here to the USA and send Montrezl Harrell to play for the Shanghai Tigers. But anyway, shots fired, man.
I think it's a bad look because you got these names that were, not to say that the NBA owes them anything, but at the same time, when Melo is not on the team, when he's obviously, if you see Melo play with regular people, he's lost a step to the point where he's not that elite guy no more. But he can come in and give you some minutes off the bench. Absolutely. When you have someone like that, the way that they was treating Russ before he went to the bench, the way that they're treating Dwight Howard is like, regardless of how you feel about them, they're arguably top 75 players in the league, where 2 of them actually are and 1 should have been. So. Right. For you to get to this point where you're just pushing them out of the league for the sake of getting young crop in, it's just like, I understand trying to give young people a chance because then they're trying to prove themselves, so you can kind of pay them a little less. You can probably get a little bit more out of them. And they're not so like, where Dwight is going to be like, yeah, I'm not dealing with nothing more than this. Where like a 19-year-old kid coming to the league is going to deal with a little bit more because they don't really have their feet wet yet. So I think that the way that they're doing some of these veterans, John Wall just sitting on the bench, paying him to not play, is just like, that's so disrespectful to them. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a bad look, and I highly disagree with it. But something else I noticed recently, you've heard me talk about being back on Twitter. Sometimes I don't use it for the right things. Not gonna lie. But
I'm gonna get started on that.
But over the weekend, I seen this graphic, and it might have been on Instagram, honestly. But it was like the comparison between Bol and Victor Wembanyama, and it's, although I do think there's a slight talent gap, I just think the fluidity of Victor's game is just like puts him on another echelon, where it's like he's Kevin Durant but 4 or 5 inches taller. Where I think Bol has a little bit of that skill set. He has that ability to take you off the dribble. He has the ability to shoot the 3. He has the ability to block a shot standing in the paint. Like, that's just how tall and how long he is. He gets 3 or 4 blocks a game come playing 15, 20 minutes off the bench. So, like, I understand that, like, his history as far as injury history doesn't really put him in a level where it's an advantage because there's no other way that Denver looked at that roster they had and felt like they couldn't use Bol.
Right.
And so,
Go
for
ahead.
me, the question is, to go back to the question at hand,
Okay, yeah.
is Victor Wayama being overhyped and is Bol being undervalued?
I believe that Bol is being undervalued, but I don't believe that Victor Wimbayamba is being overhyped. I think Victor Wimbayamba, barring injury, is everything that everyone is selling. I'm buying what everybody is selling. I saw with my own eyes. I saw footwork. I saw back to the basket game. I saw a 3-point range. I saw defensive anticipation more than just using his height. I've seen all those different skills and just the fact that you have a handle. Any big man that has a handle and has some form of organization to their basketball. Now, I will say this: when you're in the NBA, I expect you to have organization in the basketball. When you've played college, you should have organization of your basketball. But you know what I mean? I mean like basketball IQ, being able to read and react, being able to also understand how to play within the function of the system. I believe that Victor Wembanyama at his age has those things. He just needs to work on his stamina, like he said, is his I guess you could say his one area that he wants to continue to improve on. And then when we look at Bol, like you said, we were talking about this in the bubble, how he should get burned. The only thing with Bol was he did make some rookie mistakes, but that's the funny thing about Mike Malone. I'm like, he's supposed to make those mistakes. Allow him to make those mistakes. That's how people grow. You just can't sit people on the bench, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll say this, Ralph, I find it funny how they move him because what was Denver's biggest weakness? It was always defense.
Yeah,
Now, on the perimeter and in the interior. Now, to their credit, and we talked about this, and the reason why I had them, I think, number 1 and number 2 seed in the West in the preseason was they did a good job of getting a KCP, a 3 and D. They did a good job of getting back offensive weapons where now uh, Gordon can focus on his defense. He can actually defend 1 through 5 for real. So they have defense, and they got Bruce Brown, a guy that we like. So now defensively, they're not an issue. But seeing how he's been able to play when he does get the minutes, I like Bol, and I think that he's underrated. Is just making sure he stays durable. And I think he shot like 54% or something in college at Oregon. So we said that him and Michael Porter Jr., I remember we talked before the draft, were the steals of the draft. Denver had them both, and they got rid of one. So, yeah,
right.
he's underrated to me.
Yeah, I just truly don't get it, man. It's like it's one of
Mhm.
those things that I just had this conversation with my brother. It was like I feel like it's the opportunity.
Yeah.
I think Bol
Opportunity.
just needs the opportunity, and then at that point he can show you what he got. Next up, I think we got one more. Oh, college basketball has
Mhm.
some wild upsets and some wild point disparities too. I say
Mhm.
someone got waxed by 50.
Yeah.
Someone that was favored the whole time got beat by 30. And I apologize for not having these numbers of these games right in front of me, but just know that it happened.
Right.
So without getting into the X's and O's, why do you think these upsets, these wild disparities in victories, and these upsets happen?
Coaching turnover. I think coaching turnover is one part of it. Obviously you have teams like Duke and John Shire, and I remember when John Shire was actually playing.
Yeah,
I think John Shire might be my age, but
I
where
feel like that wasn't that long ago.
yeah, it wasn't that long ago, but I remember he's always on the bench. But I'm not singling like Duke or anything else. I'm saying that bringing them up, but I'm just saying like you have a lot of coaching turnover this year. So I think between that, um, sometimes players just honestly it could be a lot of things when you talk about early season upsets, when you look at tournaments. But I think coaching turnover has a key to do with some of them right now. Obviously, the influx of talent is always going to be great, but I wouldn't really say that's that's any different for me this year as opposed to last year with the teams that we're looking at. Even though Memphis is going to be incredible, but I would probably just say coaching turnover. But these upsets, like when you look at some of the blowouts, though,
Yeah, that's the ones that was
that's what
getting me.
I'm like. I don't know the conditioning. Like people ain't, like what? as everyone just have the mindset of, hey man, I'm just going straight to the league. Like
I'm gonna roll
it,
over these people.
it's weird. So like I'm trying to find out what it is. I'm sure there's some analytical nerd with some type of algorithm, Ralph. Figuring out, like, you know how it is. They're gonna be like, well, scoring is up by 30% from the last 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Just like the
Right, right.
NFL, they said apparently scoring is down, the
Yeah,
lowest it's ever been. So hopefully that benefits the Ravens. But anyway, um,
right, right.
so yeah. I'm gonna have to do, with all due respect, might have to do a little more maybe statistical research into it, but I'm gonna go with some coaching turnover right now.
And I think for me, man, I think that it could be. I think one of two things.
Hmm.
I think that sometimes when we go into it with a school, and let's just say you're a power, you play in a Power Five conference, you go and play a HBCU.
Hmm.
You're going into it thinking there's no way these dudes can rock with us or play with
Right.
us. They don't even belong on the court with us. So like at the same time, you go into it like, all right, we're just gonna go over here. We gonna play our game. We're gonna roll over. And then sometimes you don't realize, or like people end up in certain situations because of one, they just grew up in a family where they're supposed to go to an HBCU, but they just happen to be really talented at basketball. Or they got put in a situation where they had the talent to go to be 5 star, but made the wrong decisions, and now they're kind of dealing with whoever was giving them scholarship. So now you kind of get thrown into that 5 star that goes to a mid major, but had the ability, i.e., like a Randy Moss,
Hmm.
was supposed to be at Florida State but played at Marshall, and then you could just tell that there was a huge talent gap while he was out there. So I
Okay.
think that it could be a multitude of things, but I think that it could. I think it's possibly like you just go into it thinking like, all right, cool, we just gonna run them over, and you go into it as like you got a bunch of young stars, but they got players as juniors and seniors that have been playing together for 2 3 years, and you just got a bunch of 4 or 5 stars that just came. They just started playing together last week,
Right.
type of thing. So I think that sometimes it could be a multitude of things. I'm gonna strike it up as early season rust while
That's
also
fair.
playing someone that's like we've been waiting on them since last year since we found out the schedule.
Okay. I think that's a fair assessment. And like we always say, like the season in college basketball is really once we get into those conference championships that we're going to learn a lot about these teams. Honestly.
Facts. And last one up, Ben Simmons. He's been balling, averaging 16, 9, and 5 while on 85% shooting from the field. So you know he's not
Oh.
really shooting. But he's getting to the rim. He's scoring at around his season averages. They go into Philly tonight. Do you see
Yeah.
them trending up and getting a victory, or is he a victim of circumstances because he played in garbage minutes? He played against the Grizzlies with no Jaren Jackson, no John Morant, and
Right.
no Desmond Bain. And then he did have a good game against the Blazers, and the Blazers are a good team, so
Yeah.
it could go either way with that.
I fact that they don't have any answer for Joel Embiid, even though Joel Embiid was doing the carry job. But if the ancillary pieces of the 76ers step up, then they should be able to get this win. And I believe that the home crowd is going to motivate them, and momentum and home court advantage is everything. So I think ultimately Philly's going to win the game. But as it pertains to Ben Simmons, I'm looking at Ben Simmons, and you're starting to see him slowly get his confidence back. Yes, there's a part of it being a circumstance, but he's getting his confidence back, Ralph. He's scoring the ball, but he's getting the assists. He's pushing the ball on the break. He's finding others. Then when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, they did get the return of Kyrie Irving. They got the return, who obviously I get he was there before, but then you also have Seth Curry who's playing, right? Then you have Watanabe, a good defender, and also had a big game. Who we could highlight as well.
And
So
he's
I
shooting
think
threes at a high clip too.
exactly. He's shooting the three at a really high clip, and the players like him. So there's a level of joy, I think, right now. I'm not saying that the Brooklyn Nets are perfect by any means. They're still a flawed team, but I think with the confidence level of Ben Simmons heightening, that's huge. And then I want to say one thing though, and if you I don't know, I'm not sure how many of the games you got a chance to see of Ben Simmons, but I was actually talking to some other people about 3 days ago, and they said, you notice that Ben Simmons lost some of his athleticism. I was like, yep, it's actually pretty glaring. He's lost some of it. He can still do some things, but he used to be really, really athletic, like literally before the injury. It's the
Yeah,
back injury. Some of his agility and some of his vertical is no longer there. It's not there. And so I think with the back situation, that's going to be very, very interesting just to see how he goes. So I think that he's going to have some times when he's inconsistent, but as long as he keeps his confidence, head, heart, all that kind of stuff, then he can at least a game where he hits his average, because average is good. If he can give you 15 and 8 or whatever, something like that, right?
right,
He's good. I'm not expecting him to give me 25, 7 and 7 or something like that,
right,
right?
right.
Play defense, give me at least a cool 13, 14, dish out 8 to 10 assists, because you have enough shooting to do it, and play defense and you good. The free throw line is always going to be his kryptonite, kind of like unfortunately Lonzo, right? Some players aren't. That's not their thing. So Claxton, Ben Simmons, but I think his confidence is just getting back, Ralph, at the end of the day.
And I agree with you, man. I do think it's a. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking advantage of your circumstances to gain
Mm-hmm.
more confidence, because he was able to do it against elite talent. It's just a matter of believing you can do it now that you've lost some athleticism because of your back injury.
Yeah.
But you can tell that he's starting to get his confidence back. He's getting that. He's trusting the back.
Yeah.
And like you said, like you bring it up all the time with your kinesiology, all of that.
Good old Kenise.
Knowing
That's
these
gonna be
injuries,
amazing.
a lot of it is mental
Right.
too. And I don't think that people, one, they call them soft, but then they'll mentally soft, but then they'll say, well, he should be back already. So if
Right.
you're acknowledging that he's mentally soft, then you got to give him a little bit more leeway when it comes to coming back from a major back injury
Yeah, and
or
surgery
accident.
at that. Surgery at
Right.
that, right? And I'm not sure if he ever had a knee. I feel like he had a knee too, sometime
I feel
that
like he's
earlier.
had knee injuries, but
Had
not
like a
to the point
knee.
where he had surgery.
Yeah, not to the point where he had surgery. So
Yeah,
that's why I'm like his vertical, but the back injury is I can attest to, man. Like it's the lateral, like it's not like you. Let's say your legs are fine, but it's between the bending over, depending on like if it's in your lumbar region, right, which is the lower, your lower. Let's say it's in your like your L5 and all that kind of stuff, right? Like if it's in that area and moving. And a perfect example of this is if you ever looked at Michael Porter Jr., there was a game they played against the Warriors. And he's not a good defender by any means. I'm sorry, he's not.
yeah,
But that's not his game.
no
But
effort.
I noticed they attack him. So like while he's good offensively, they would literally like put him in pick and rolls. They would do different things. And it's that side to side, bro. And he's already tall. So you have a 6'10" dude with a bad back, all bad. All bad. So
True,
and
true
that's
story.
how tall old boy is. Ben Simmons,
Right,
6'10". So
right.
there you go. All right.
Up next, 2 minute drill. Coach Selah of the Jets has he just refuses to
Mm-hmm.
commit to Zach Wilson for the next game. Is this a big deal? Know that pretty much put their future in this kid.
Yeah. It's a huge deal. I'll even go for it. I'll even go as far as saying that they should bench him. All these people, these pundits, and all these other people say, "Oh, well, we'll see how he does against the Bears." And this is just my opinion, so I don't want to feel like I'm knocking anyone. But I'm like, you play to win the game, as former head coach of the Jets would say. Herm Edwards, shout out to Herm Edwards, right? You
I,
play to win
I
the
see that
game,
he's back on ESPN.
and yeah, and as a quarterback, you're a leader of the team, right? You're supposed to be a leader of the troops. So therefore, when you don't take accountability, that's another thing. So now you sullied the locker room, right? That's permeated throughout the locker room. And now it's almost like you're blaming the defense or blaming other people, right? You're not taking accountability for your faults, for your inability to score. You have the New York Jets media reporters, right? Local media reporters, not even ESPN, local media reporters going in on you, right? So I think when you're what dead last in like yards per attempt and like your QBRs, like what 32nd in the league, all that, your
Yeah,
statistical numbers are poor. You don't give them the best chance to win. And you have two other quarterbacks, and one being a former Super Bowl MVP. So at the end of the day, Robert Saleh, you need to make a quarterback change. I would bench him because you're a team who I believe wants to get to the playoffs. So is he the best option right now? To me personally, I say no.
No. And I wish I had that clip. I got to
Mm.
start saving these clips where we do these podcasts because I wish I had the clip of me saying that Sam Darnold
Oh
was not far off from Zach Wilson. Now
man.
he's young and he could possibly get better, but the trajectory is just showing the same.
Mm.
And so I think that the coach is a good coach. I do think he'll get the most out of his troops, which is why they're playing and the record is what it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just don't see him being much better than the person that was there before them. So he's gonna give the ball away.
Right. Right.
He's not really moving the ball that well, although he has weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very inconsistent because he has some weeks where he balls and he has some weeks where it's like, nah, this ain't that kid.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, like,
Right, exactly. And so I think it's a huge deal
mm.
for the franchise because at this point by year 2, where you're looking at where Justin Fields year 1, we were trying to figure out, all right, he looked pretty bad. I'm a little uneasy. But then year 2 is like, even though he just got hurt this last week, it's like you start to have that question of, all right, I don't want to hurt you, and we're obviously not going to win. So I'm going to sit you down for the rest of the season. But I see enough out of you that I know what to build off of.
Right.
And so, but then you got Zach Wilson on the other hand, who is in the same year. It's just like he had a first good year. It was like, all right, I can see what to build around you with. But then it's like I put those pieces there. I start to put those pieces there, and then you take a step back. Where I know more about you from social media memes and TikTok videos than I know about your actual gameplay on the football field.
Yeah.
And so
I think
on to the next one.
Is kind of bad too, losing locker room. So we'll see.
2-minute drill for the gaming community. This one is for us. We've been asking for it for years. NCAA, EA Sports, it's in the game. VP and GM has announced that NCAA will be back summer of 2024. How excited and how big is this for the culture?
Hold on that thought real quick. I'm about to go and throw out my Madden game out the window. No, man. Look, I haven't played Madden since Madden 20, and I really shouldn't have picked that one either. All they did was hey, Ralph, all they did was add the Pro Bowl. On that one, that was one with Mahomes on the cover, man.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
This is
huge. Wasn't that Mahomes and Tom Brady?
No, that one 20? No, because that was 22. Right,
okay.
22, yeah. Because 23 is the John Madden. Last year they did Madden, they did Brady and Mahomes again. I'm like, Mahomes already on the cover, and Brady was on the cover on 18. So I'm like, why can't you put Derrick? Oh, Derrick Henry was supposed to be on the cover, and they switched. See, anyway. But yeah, this is huge for the gaming community because NCAA football was a staple. It was fun. You had the mascot game. And remember, games are meant to be fun. I was having a conversation, Ralph, with my homie, shout out to Tar, and I said, when we were younger, bro, games were fun. Yes, there's things with, okay, we work 40 hours a week and all that. We get that now, whatever. But what was inside the game. You say EA Sports is in the game. I'm like, every time I play Madden, there's nothing in the game. So I mean, come on, bro. What's in the game, man? It's just a roster update. And there's no college game. So to be played, you do that face of the franchise and all that. So now we get a real college game. Maybe we can get some arcade style games or another game, whatever. So this is huge. I think they're going to make good money. So I'm pulling for it. I'm going to let you get your piece off on this, bro. But I'm excited. I really am.
I'm excited, bro. That's why I did the intro that I gave for it because I'm excited, man, and it's for the culture. We've been asking
Yeah.
about it for years. Now they just need to stop playing and bring that fight night back. But that's a whole other topic.
Yes.
But actually, I have heard that they're working on it. We just don't have a date yet.
Bro, get you an old Xbox then, man, or something, or
For
get you
real.
that Xbox 360, or pay for the one. It don't matter. You can still play.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it, man.
Mhm.
But last but not least, for our 2 minute drill, my boys, Ohio State going up against Michigan.
Yeah.
Not only is this a huge rivalry, just like that, that's up there with the greatest rivalries of all the sports, but this year specifically,
Mm.
going into how big is this game for the college football landscape?
This is huge. This is huge. For the college football landscape, I believe there should be good viewership for this game, or it should usher in viewership because the last time that they both played when they were undefeated, I was a freshman in high school. So this was 2006. This is huge, especially when you look at the fact that Michigan hasn't beaten OSU back to back since what? The Lakers and Kobe, Shaq and Kobe Lakers, 15-1. So shout out to them. Froby, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. So this is a huge matchup. You have the second best offense and arguably the best offensive line in college football in Michigan, and then you have a really bona fide defense and a receiving core with Ohio State. We always talk about their receivers, and you look at C.J. Stroud, the quarterback, a Heisman candidate, etc. So this is a huge matchup just for the implications of the rivalry, also for college football. Also, when you look at the historical matchups and the streak that Ohio State has been on, so this is really huge. I'm looking forward to it. I think that Michigan really could pull off the upset. I really think they could pull off the upset in this game, but I think it's going to be come down to Ralph, like the run game and who can really attack the trenches, because I think there's some underrated. I think that Michigan's um, what you call it, their receivers are actually underrated on that end of the ball, but also Ohio State has some underrated stuff on defense. So especially when I look at their linebacking core and how good their linebackers are. So this is going to be a really good game. I know you're excited for it. So
Sir. Yes,
so
sir.
yeah, that might be your Super Bowl, man. So hey, you gotta get some out of this football season, man. So
Yeah, I
hey,
mean, as far as football, it's definitely going to be fun because I projected and predicted that Ohio State would win it all,
yeah, there
and
we go.
I just don't like Michigan, so I've been
Right.
talking a lot of stuff all
Their
season.
uniforms.
Yeah, them ugly uniforms and
Yeah. That might be the only time Jordan took an L, man.
yeah, the uniforms is terrible. He didn't even make it better. It's just the same
Yeah.
old stuff.
Yeah.
No kind of like pizzazz. At least
Right.
Ohio State they've added a little splash of gray here. They do an all black jersey. There's an all white jersey.
Right.
There's an all red jersey.
Hey, and I'll even hit you with this. Maybe if they win this game, whatever, and they win the championship, right? You know who's going to be on the cover of NCAA. It would have to be C.J. Stroud.
Yeah,
Here you go. So hey,
right. So last but that was it. But on
that's
to
a
the next
2 minute.
one.
All right.
And this one is an interesting topic because now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, and when you brought it up earlier, they're
It's
all of the
tough.
great tight ends have played in the AFC West,
All of them.
except for a few. There's a handful,
Mhm.
because even if you go back to like the Kelly Winslows, who was playing for the Chargers, then you got Antonio Gates, Chargers. You got Tony Gonzalez, Travis Kelce, Chiefs. You got Shannon Sharp, played with the Ravens, but also he was
Broncos.
playing for the
Yeah.
Broncos. He really cut his teeth playing for the
Yeah.
Broncos. Then you got the Todd Heaps of the world. You got the Jeremy Shockeys of the world. You got the Greg Olsons of the world. The Mike Ditkas.
Mark Andrews.
The Jason Wittens. To take it back to
Yeah.
the Ravens, where I mentioned three Ravens players at this point. Uh,
Dennis
Mark
Pitta,
Andrews.
Todd Heap, Mark Andrews, all of them. Yeah.
Right. And
Ozzie
so
Newsome. Mm-hmm.
this is the part for me where I think I don't want to make it seem like I dislike Kelce because it
Yeah.
took me a while for me to get to this point. Even George Kittle. Um, I think it just depends on what you want in your tight end. This is one of those things where I think his ability. Um, there's a few tight ends that have that ability that he has, and I think that the Shannon Sharps of the world, who came in as a wide receiver but was so big they put him at tight end, but then they played him as an extra wideout. But it was like he played before that time, so it's like to look at what his numbers were. How were his numbers when it actually came down to, like, if you were to take him and put him in this era, where would he be at?
Right.
And so I hate to have that conversation, but when you start to think about comparing people, hey, shout out to the boy Nonsense. He brought out Chris Cooley. Chris Cooley was a baller too. Dallas Clark too. If we gonna start going into that bag, but
was Chris Collinsworth the tight end?
No, he's a wide receiver.
Okay.
Plus,
we're gonna X out that part that I.
Yeah, I just don't ever want to hear his voice, bro. Because if I gotta hear him say, "This here is a guy," right?
Oh man,
it's like, bro, he is the most Captain Obvious announcer I've ever heard on TV. But to go back to the point, it just to finish my point. I think that it depends on what you look for. But if we just go to strictly talk about the best tight ends because their job is to block, I think that's where Travis Kelce comes down. I think that you gotta have that conversation of Tony was a decent blocker, but then you gotta have that conversation of that's where I think George Kittle of this era will probably go higher on that list because he's been able to put up numbers. He's entertainment. He has that entertainment factor while being a wild character wearing the luchador mask. But also he's a super blocker, a great route runner, performs in crunch time, can take the hit while getting the catch. And then you obviously got to bring up Grunt. So, like, you got to bring up Grunt. So as much as I'm going to sit here and say that, like, I'm always going to fight for Shannon Sharp because I think he was before his time. Yeah, but he still was able to put up numbers to where his numbers are still sitting pretty as far as being in the top 5, being in the top 3 of certain categories. So you put him in a different area, where would he be at? But where you stand on Travis Kelce, man?
All right. So first I'm going to quote my favorite to the Queen Aaliyah, rest in peace. Speak your heart, don't bite your tongue, man. I appreciate you speaking your heart on that, man, because I was going to say, even though I said, I told you before the show who I picked, right? I never said it was easy, right? I never said there's concrete. I feel like you could go with a lot of these guys. And another person I don't think you mentioned, I know we didn't mention, was Antonio Gates. And I believe Shannon Sharp actually, he was on the podcast with T.O., Get Your Popcorn Ready, a year ago. And they said, who's your 5? And he had Keller Winslow Sr. He had Gronk was there. No, Gronk wasn't there. I think it was Kellen Winslow Sr. He had Gonzalez there. He had Ozzie there. He had like a bunch of people. I'm not even sure if he had Kelce or Gronk. He might have had Kelce though. But anyway,
he came out and said Gronk was the GOAT.
Yeah, that's what I thought, right?
He said it on Undisputed. So like,
that's what I was like, I don't know. But then again, people can forget, and you never know because it was also the setting that you're in. So TV verse, But I'm not sure if he was actually ranking them, but those are like 5. And so I bring that up because you brought up a great point. Like, they're all different. They do different things. And then one thing with Gronk, I think when I think of greatness, I always like, okay, what's the criteria, right? Are we looking at, did you perform in the postseason? Like, do you elevate your play? Well, I know Gronk did. I know that Kelce did. I know Gonzalez did. I know that Shannon did. So I'm like, well, they all check their boxes, right? And then I know, Shannon Sharp, while he wasn't the fastest person, I also remember him as a Raven fan. My first Super Bowl I ever watched and the first Super Bowl they ever did was the game when I believe we played the Raiders and he had that catch.
That slant, and he was out of there, bro.
Yeah, he was out of there, man.
He called a quick slant. It was up the field.
Right. We ain't going to talk about what Goose did again. But anyway, rest in peace to Goose. That game, I was thinking about it. Like,
I never want to get disrespectful, but I'm not going to cap, bro. I hated that dude for so long.
That was so dirty, bro.
The way he just flopped on, bro, it's like, come on, dog. Like, if we go lose, like, they had a heck of a defense. Now, if we go lose,
all right, but
lost. but not like that.
Just excessive, bro.
Because
Like,
we was in the game, bro. We was balling. And he was like, nah, we
mm-hmm.
just flop down on bros, and he's out,
Yeah.
collarbone up out of here.
Hey, Chucky Gruden was like, "We are going to win the game." Then they lost the game. But anyway, but hey, I respect the confidence because
It
that
was a
Raiders
close
team,
game, though.
yeah, that team was nice though. That team
Yeah,
was nice. It could have went anyway. But anyway, back to the meat and potatoes, as we say. Um, so I'm gonna be honest. I'm biased because I see Kelce all the time, and I've seen Shannon. But I think for me, Ralph, is they played the Ravens, and I'll never forget. I know he's no Luke Kuechly or anything like that, but Patrick Osmawar was guard defending him, right? And he played like this really, really good coverage on him. And Kelce just made like this great, like he was able to block him out, make this crazy catch. And it was like a beautiful route. And I was like, it's almost like, when you're defending someone like a AJ Antonio Brown or Randy Moss, and it's like you can't do anything about that person.
yeah,
That's what Kelce is. It's the hips. He's a dancer. He can dance. He has fluid hips. So what he is he's a tight end who moves like a receiver. You know what's coming. You can't stop it. He's used multiple different ways where like the blocking stuff to me, honestly, it just doesn't matter. I think Gronk, I know for a fact Gronk could do that. And Gronk, he just took a beating.
yeah,
But Gronk was like the LeBron. So I think it's styles make fights. What style do you like? And I
yeah,
think because I like Kelsey's style, because he has the NFL record for most 100 games. I think at the 33 plus 100-yard receiving games for a tight end in NFL history. But at his age, there's something to be said for that. But then Gonzalez played with some mediocre to bad quarterbacks. Then you have Shannon Sharp, who played with a 2,000-yard rusher and TD back when we remember like running backs got the ball 35 to 40 times a game. That's not Shannon Sharp's fault. But then again, he was never the vocal point of the offense. It was Elway and TD. So it's like, do I knock him for that? So I think any of those three or any five guys you can go with. And then I didn't see Ozzy. I didn't see uh Kellen Winslow Jr. But then Ozzie Newsome, like we look at Todd Heap, we look at Pitta, and we look at Mark Andrews, our number one receiver is a tight end. And I'm like, you know what? Why is that? Oh, because Ozzie Newsome was a tight end. So in his mind,
right,
the tight end is the number one option.
right,
so,
right,
so it's like I am the captain here, It's like receiver. It's like you will always be number two. I'm alpha, you're beta.
right,
So
right.
I gotta go with Kelce, but I'll end it with this. I think it might be between Gronk aside, right? I think it's three. I'm gonna go three. It's Kelsey, Gonzalez, and Gronk. So I think the battle is between Ralph, the guys in Kansas City, and Gonzalez came out, I think, earlier this year, last year. He said people always ask us when we're together who's the best tight end, and we point to each other. So there you go.
Yeah,
It's a humbling experience, and Gonzalez always said that I'm always going to say that I felt that I was always the best when I was doing my thing. But, I think you're splitting hairs and eras. It's just different eras,
yeah.
man.
Because the thing I don't think people realize is Tony Gonzalez played with Priest Holmes and Larry Johnson.
Exactly.
Then you had Shannon Sharp playing with Terrell Davis,
Mm-hmm.
and
Was
Terrell
nasty.
Davis
Whew.
had 237 carries 1 year, 345 1 year, 370 1 year, and almost 400 the year when he ran for 2,000.
Yo, they wore him out, man.
And
He won
so,
AP Offensive Player of the Year and MVP as a running
yeah,
back.
exactly. So, like, it's one of those things where you got to think about, all right, if you put those people in an era where they're
Mhm.
throwing the ball 50 times a game and they're the focal point of the offense,
Right.
where your tight end can be your best receiver now.
Mm.
What do those numbers now look like? And so that's where I'm like,
Exactly.
I'll fight for the old guys just for that
Right.
the sake of that argument.
Exactly.
But on to the next, my boy Jaylen Brown found himself in a little bit of some muddy water
Mm-hmm.
by retweeting a video of some brothers outside of the Barclays that were there in support of Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the video, 2,000 black men outside supporting Kyrie Irving, looked at it as strictly that, and retweeted energy. Now, when you look at who was in the video, they align with the Hebrew Israelites. which is the people why Kyrie Irving got in trouble in the first place. Now, we've already had that conversation about what they stand for. Do you agree with Jaylen Brown's stance on his retweet and why he will not take it down?
I do agree with the stance, and I want to say this: we're not going to get taken off the airwaves for saying, speaking our opinions or whatever like that. The reason why I say I agree is, and I'm not aligning myself with the Hebrew Israelites, but I believe the tweet was there's unity, right? Unity.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll speak from my perspective, right? Especially when there's black people, whatever. But let me gather my thoughts, and you probably understand where I'm coming from. I respect an organizational or a grouping, right? I can respect when there's unity within there and they actually are willing to fight for what they believe in, or et cetera, and they're able to come together and they're able to make a representation where there's no violence involved, no one is getting harmed, and they're actually truly about, what they believe. And that can be across cultures, et cetera, as long as obviously you're not preaching any form of hate, et cetera, right? So I think that was literally what Jaylen Brown was referring to when he said energy, right? We know his stance in terms of the Kyrie situation, as far as he never said that Kyrie Irving did anything, that Kyrie didn't do anything wrong, or et cetera. He just thought that the suspension was over the top. They said they wanted him to apologize, but then you give him this checklist. So it's like you're constantly moving the goalposts. You're making him go above and beyond just to get back into the league, right? When he pretty much apologized and et cetera, and there was a mistake made on his part. Now, obviously, there are, I don't want to say ramifications, but there are a domino effect with the the people that were outside the Barclays arena. That Kyrie's probably like, I'm not expecting this, and then now he's being questioned about it, and there's expect loaded questions yet again after he already told you his stance when he came back from his suspension, et cetera, and why he did what he did, and et cetera, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that whole representation and that showcasing by them actually wound up shedding more light once again on Kyrie Irving, that unwanted attention that he probably didn't want. But I don't think that Jaylen Brown had any malicious intent in terms of why he tweeted what he said. And when he said energy, he was just saying, oh, I see a form of unity. I see a form of, hey, people are actually standing behind whatever they want to believe in and all that kind of stuff. And they weren't known to, preach any type of hate or anything, or nobody was getting harmed outside Barclays Arena. So, and they were really cold. So, and so you had people talking about, man, I respect anyone out there, and it was cold as brick. So, I mean, that's me from my outsider's perspective and how I kind of view things, Ralph, with stuff like that. So,
And I agree with you, man, because I think that there's something to be said where I think a lot of where Jaylen Brown was coming from was like, for instance, Charles Barkley goes on CNN and says that blacks are the main ones persecuting the LGBT community. And it's like no ramification. He gets to go about his life. He gets to go about his day, his job, and he doesn't have to make an apology to us. Where Kanye West, to take it to Kanye West said the Jews run the entertainment, or the Jews run the media.
Yeah.
He has to then go on apology to say something that say he apologized for saying that statement. But then someone can go on TV and say something negative about black people with no like statistic that shows that that's just their opinion. Which is like, at the end of the day, to take it a step back or take it a step further, in my personal opinion, I don't believe that you should be suspended or you can't have your job because you have an opinion. Because I think that to take a piece of Jon Stewart's quote from over the weekend, you can never have real conversation if you're just taking how people really feel and pushing it off to the side and making them go stand with their nose in the corner. I think that at the end of the day, when it comes to black people, people are allowed, even our own people are allowed to come out and say whatever about us. But like, you don't see Hispanics getting on TV saying stuff about Hispanic people negatively. You don't see Jewish people getting up saying anything about Jewish people. You don't see any other culture do this on national TV.
Yeah.
Except our group, but nobody has to apologize. Nobody has to have 6 steps in order to get back. They don't got to go see the NCAA or
NCAAP. Yeah.
NCAAP.
NAACP. Mm-hmm.
NAACP. Yeah, there we go. Like, nobody has to go see them. Nobody has to donate money to HBCUs. Nobody has to go meet with Louis Farrakhan. Like nobody has to go meet with our leaders and have these conversations and visit our museums to get their job back. But for some reason, Kyrie Irving does. And that's where it's like, hold on. If you're going to say something, come out and stand on it. But, like, to say we're going to suspend him and he has to do this, then it gets to 5 games. The owner and the person that runs the league say that they believe he's sorry, that he's suspended for 3 more games. All right, what are we doing here?
Yeah. And I still think that they were.
That's players are doing interviews and they don't even know when he's coming back.
Yeah, it's there. I will continue to say, Ralph, like the jab had a lot to do with their treatment of Kyrie Irving. I think that was, I believe that was, in addition to him making the posts and all that kind of stuff. And then I also believe that Nick Friedel always had an axe to grind with Kyrie Irving. It just is what it is. And we see these, it's almost like when we watch those movies or read those comic books or whatever you want to call it, but this is real life. You have that reporter that always has the axe to grind. So it's like, all right. So Kyrie was just facing so much from the league, from the media, and then the vaccine situation and Nick Friedel, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna suspend him. I'm like, nah, man. Because they don't really want him. They really don't want him to play. That's really what it is. But that's a whole other story.
Facts.
I agree.
But on to the next one, man. And the last topic I wanted to throw in, but you guys just got to make sure you watch our social media. We're gonna be posting Boyz NFL Players of the Week, but we don't have enough time to actually discuss it on the show. But on to the next and the final topic: the NFL power rankings going into Week 12. I'm gonna let you go first. How I get down. I start from the bottom and then get to the top.
Let me pull my little notes up on my phone. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second so I can see who I had at number 10. Doggone it, really? I just exited out. I'm sorry. Give me a second.
I do have a question though, because I did have a couple people that we do have a couple minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
So we talked about Travis Kelce and the games that he's been having. But Devontae Adams had to walk off, had 141 yards, 7 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce has 6 receptions, 114 yards with 3 touchdowns. Who would get your vote for AFC Offensive Player of the Week?
I'm going to go with Kelce. I know, and I love me Devontae Adams, and he's on my fantasy team, which I need to actually win some games. But I got to go Kelce only because of this, Ralph. Only because of this. And it's close, right? And not like they don't try to stop Adams. He did that without old boy Juju, without Hardman, and then Kadarius Toney got injured in that game, I believe. Yeah. So the fact that he was able to do that, the defense like, okay, we're going to key in and stop you, and then he was able to seal the game at the end of the game. I think just because of the lack of wealth of weapons for once, I can actually say that about Mahomes, who always has more weapons than the government. Because of that, I'm going to give the slightest edge for me to Kelce. Only because of that. Had anyone else played, probably not.
And then one more.
Okay.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Balls out. 3 touchdowns, with 21 for 25. But also Garoppolo.
Yeah.
With 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards. Who gets your vote for NFC Offensive Player of the Week?
I got to go with the 49ers coming in hot. I feel like the 4 touchdown Garoppolo, his completion percentage, all that. I think he's ready because people talk bad about him. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Sure. Was that enough time to get your rankings together?
Yeah, I'm ready. All
right. Go crazy, bro.
So, my top 10, right? Number 10, I'm going with the Tennessee Titans. I'm sorry.
At 10, huh?
At 10, because they're the one AFC team that I don't really believe in. but they're still 7-3. That division, they have a stranglehold of the division, so I'm gonna go with the Titans at number 10 for me. Then after that, I'm gonna go with my number 9 team. I'm going with the Washington Commanders.
Okay,
Shout out to
number 9.
shout out to Taylor Heineke. So that's my number 19, right there. And they have a chance still to win the division if I'm not mistaken,
Yes, they
which is
do.
crazy. Which is crazy. All right.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Commanders at 10.
Okay.
Playing strong defense.
Hmm.
Heineke does a really good job of not beating himself,
Okay.
making good big throws, and when it needs to be done, moving the chains. But at the same time, I think that I don't know. Part of me, I just don't believe in him because I had, and what I'm mad because I got Terry McLaurin and
Oh
he
man.
ain't did jack. Every time I sit this man, he gets like 15 to 20 points. When I keep him and start him,
He forget how
8
to
to
play.
9 points.
Man, that hurts.
And the same with Mooney. But we're
Mm.
not talking about the Bears right now.
Right, right.
But like, so for me, I'm gonna go Commanders at 10.
Okay.
I'm gonna put the Giants in at 9. At
Ooh.
7-3. A slew of injuries, but they just keep on ticking. Defense playing well. Saquon is back, although he struggled this week.
All right.
One of the reasons I lost in that league that I had because he's about 20 to 24 points, and he just was not that this game.
Mm.
So the New York Football Giants at 9,
Okay.
Commanders at 10, and then I'm gonna go at 8. I'm gonna get the Vikings, man. They were high up, but the way they got beat
Yeah.
is
Badly.
why I just can't have them nothing higher.
40-3. Come on, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the way that they got beat was crazy. Okay, and that was your 8? No, you were
yeah.
7.
And then my 7 is
Yeah.
gonna be the Miami Dolphins. A
Okay,
lot of
okay.
offensive firepower, and they're balling at a high clip. But I'm just not sure how I feel about that defense.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. I feel you on that. Okay, so my number 8 team is actually the Miami Dolphins. I believe that they're a team that has the offensive firepower. Tyreek Hill is playing at an MVP level for a wide receiver. Their offense is cool, but I like what I've continued to say to a lot of my homies is, can they play in the cold? Will their offense travel in the cold? I've also seen them thus far this season give up, I think it was like 300 yards to over 300 yards to dual threat quarterbacks and a Lamar Jackson who had over 100 yards rushing, and I think he had a touchdown, and a Justin Fields. They get Bradley Chubb, but their defense still is trash. So I think that I'm sorry. So I believe that just off that strength, I'm gonna have them as my number 18. Then it gets kind of dicey for me here. But I'm gonna go with the Minnesota Vikings. I gotta go with the Minnesota Vikings because of the fashion that they lost. Yes, they're the leaders in the NFC North, but that division is just bad right now. So I'm gonna go with the Vikings, also based off the strength of the division. So that's my
For
number
sure.
7.
For
And then we can
7.
start to run them off.
All right,
Yeah.
so then give me 6, bro.
All right, so number 6, I'm gonna go with the New York Football Giants. I like their pass rush there. I like what Danny Dimes is doing. And then that was number 6, right?
Yeah.
Then my number 5 team, I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. Their offense is anemic. It bothers me. I do know that Marcus Robinson had 9 catches, 128 yards. Their defense looks great, great. Roquan Smith, but it was a windy game. It was a windy game, and the Panthers have a sneaky defense, so it's not like Lamar could throw the ball. But I'm like everyone else. I still have my questions, and that's it. All right, and then you want to rattle off the rest that you got?
And then I got I had the Titans drop out my 10. So
Okay,
at this point, I'm gonna throw the 49ers in there, man.
okay.
The way that they're clicking on all cylinders, but Garoppolo not turning the ball over, making good throws, accuracy.
Hmm.
Because we talk about it all the time. He tricked that game up, that Super Bowl off. So at the same time, you got a defense that's playing well. They was
Yeah,
getting after Arizona. I felt bad for Colt McCoy at one point.
right.
I was like, yo, he just gets killed everywhere he goes, going all the way back to Texas. And so I got them. I got the 49ers at, what was that, 4?
Yeah.
And then Ravens at 3. Wait, no. Did I skip?
I think you skipped.
I skipped 6 and 5, right?
Yeah.
So I got the Vikings. No, not the Vikings. Who did I just say? I got the 49ers at 6.
Okay.
And then I got the Cowboys at 5.
Okay.
And so the Cowboys, the way that they've been playing, man, that defense is getting to it.
Mm-hmm.
Creating turnovers, getting stops, scoring points. The way that they just blew them out, Tony Pollard. And I was gonna bring this up. It's like it's low key sad the way. It's so sad that the way that that Ezekiel Elliott just fell off.
Yeah.
And it's
Last
like
couple seasons, man.
yeah, man. He started off going crazy, but now it's just like.
And he's not even old. That's the scary
Right.
thing.
Like, can he be a complimentary back at this point? Is like where we're starting to question. So Tony Pollard balling out, Dak and CD having that connection. They rekindled that connection to the point where that team was able to put up 40 points.
Yeah.
And so I know I got a little confused, but I said the 49ers at 6, Ravens at not Ravens, but Cowboys at 5. I had the Dolphins at 7, correct?
Yep.
So I'm at 4.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm gonna throw in those Ravens.
Okay.
And I think that their ability to just keep winning games when it doesn't matter who's in the game, I think it's something for that. Regardless of how they're winning, if it looks ugly, they're just able to get that victory at the end of the day. And I think that Lamar's ability to get that victory, how the defense is being played, and how well the defense is playing, I think it's something to be said for that. And then at 3, this was kind of tough, but I'm gonna go Buffalo.
Okay.
At 3, at 7-3, Josh Allen and Diggs doing their thing. Gabe Davis has showed up big. I think at the end of the day, it's gonna be the same thing we asked about the Dolphins: is can that defense step up and get it done?
Okay. So I got I want to switch. I want to go. My 6 was going to be the Seahawks.
Okay.
I have the Ravens ahead of them. So I have the Seahawks at 6. I have the 49ers at 5, right? Then at 4, I have the Ravens. So I think we're in agreement there. So I have the 4. I have the Ravens, and then we get into our last 3 teams. I'm gonna go with the Bills at 3. So I'm with you there. And then to round it off, I'm going with the Cowboys, and I still got to go with the Eagles. I think. Oh, excuse me, not the. Well, I messed up on something. I said 6.
Yeah.
I put the Seahawks because I'm like the Chiefs were my number 1 team. Hold on, let me see something real good. All right. Yeah, I whiffed on the team then. That probably shouldn't be there. I probably messed up. You know what? I probably messed up when I started the list. But anyway, all right. So I'm just gonna say this. My top 3 teams. I'm sorry, guys. My top 3 teams. I have the Chiefs at 1. I have the Eagles at 2. Okay, and then I have the Cowboys. Then I have the Bills, and then I have the Ravens, and then I have the Seahawks. There we go. Seahawks were 6.
Where did you have the 49ers?
The 49ers will wind up being beneath the Seahawks at 7. I had the Vikings. I believe I had the Vikings at 8. I had the Giants at 8. I had the Vikings at. Hold up. Titans at 10. I had the Titans at 10. I had the. Oh, I know what it was. I put the Commanders on the list. The Commanders ruined everything. So I'm taking the Commanders off. Okay. So I'm taking the Commanders out of my list. I'm going with the Titans at 10. Then I'm going to go. Yeah, that's where I'm getting at 9. So I'm going to go with the Titans at 10. I'm going to go with the Seahawks for me I'm gonna put the Seahawks there. All right. Then from there, I'm gonna go with the Giants at 8. I'm gonna go with the Niners at 7. I'm gonna go with the Seahawks at 6. I'm gonna go with the who else I'm going with that one here? So I have to switch up everything now. So give me a moment. All right. Then I'm gonna go with the did I say the Vikings already? I don't think I said the Vikings.
No.
Vikings at 5. I'm gonna go with the Ravens at 4. I'm gonna go with the Bills at 3. I'm gonna go with the the Eagles at 2, and I'm gonna go with the Chiefs at 1. So there you go. All right.
All right. Cool. And then I got the Commanders at 10, Giants at 9.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Dolphins at 8.
Okay.
Then I agree with you with the 49ers.
They're the hot team. They're about to come up.
And then Vikings at 6. No, I had the Vikings at 7, 49ers at 6.
The Vikings at 7?
Yeah. And then I got the Cowboys at 5.
Woo.
Dolphins at 4.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo Bills at 3. Eagles at 2. Chiefs at 1.
Okay, so we agree with the top 4, I think. Yeah.
And thank you all for watching. We got to get up out of here. We went way over on time.
Yeah.
My daughter is catching a major attitude downstairs, and we're out of here. Bye, y'all.